All right. I got a quick thought I wanted to complete. I'm up early this morning when I do most of my thinking, and it just crossed my mind. And I just wanted to ask a simple question to some people. Like, are you one of those people that you kind of do things the responsible way? And when I say the responsible way, you're doing okay in life. You're doing okay. You're not out over your skis financially. You have your emergency fund. You've got a year's worth of emergency fund saved up. You have your little stock portfolio. You're not in a bunch of consumer debt. You're just responsible, and everybody knows that you're kind of responsible. You're that person that everybody kind of knows if something goes wrong, I'm going to call that person. And that's one of the reasons people always keep in touch with you, is because they know that you're that responsible person, and they want to keep that ace in their back pocket just in case. Not saying that ace is going to work, but that's why they kind of know, like, I got to keep in touch with this person. You always are a person who has certain types of information. You have like a network of contacts that, when certain situations arrive, whatever it is, somebody needs a job, you can kind of point them in a certain way, in the right direction, or you can connect them to someone. Oh, I know somebody that you might can talk to that might can get you on here. Or you might know somebody when they're looking for an apartment and, their credit score kind of sucks. You just have, those connections where you can kind of help people if need be. You're just one of those people. But like I said, at the end of the day, you're just a responsible person. You're that responsible person that where somebody always knew, like in your family, if they couldn't pay their car payment, they could come to you and you could loan them the money. If they couldn't pay their rent, you could loan them the money. If they needed help doing something, you could help them out, whatever it was, if they were in a bind. And sometimes, like as a responsible person, this kind of gets under your skin because you look around and you see everybody living irresponsibly and it's always all good. And they look at you kind of like a stick in the mud sometimes. And like me as a person, I've understood for a long time, like that doesn't bother me. Because I myself know that if anything goes wrong for me, there's nobody for me to call. I don't have anybody I can call. There's nobody I can call that's going to get me out of a bind. So I have to do it myself. And so the best way to get yourself out of a bind is to not get yourself into that bind. You head that off at the pass by not even going down that road. And recently here I've seen, a couple people, they do things. And when you try to tell them how to do the right things or go about something the right way, and you give them some advice because you've seen that movie before, you try to tell them like, hey, it ain't going to work out. In this day and age, especially since COVID, when all that COVID money was floating around, you saw a lot of people out here spending money they didn't have, fake it till you make it, all kinds of stuff. Now that money's dried up and it's gone. That money has left the economy. It's made its way all the way back up to the top of the economy to those people, and it's locked in, to certain types of assets, pushing certain asset prices higher because that's where all that money went. It's gone. And now you're seeing people who made some very poor life decisions over the past, 3 or 4 years. It's finally coming back to bite them in the rear. And, there's a big thing about now where people talk about hustle culture. And being somebody who owned a business for quite a while, I can tell you that owning a business is not for everybody. Owning a business is not for most people because a lot of times people have tried to tell people this. It's more work than having a job. You put in more hours than having a job, and for the most part, at the beginnings, you don't get paid for it. You have to really be prepared to put in a bunch of work and really not make any money in the beginning. You know, the payoff is down the road when it finally gets started, it finally gets rolling after a lot of work, and you start making money. And with this hustle culture where there was a lot of free extra money floating around in the economy, people thought that they could just hustle their way and make a living and everything was going to be great. And they poo-pooed on people who had a 9-to-5 job, and everybody on the internet is making 100K. You got people all over the internet telling you, if you're not making 100K, oh my God, you're poor and you're broke. When there's probably only like, 10-15% of Americans that make 100K. So everybody else doesn't make 100K, but everybody on the internet makes 100K. So I guess everybody making 100K, the top 10% of people who make 100K, all those people are the ones on the internet telling you if you don't make 100K, you're broke. But from what I see, everybody on the internet makes 100K and they're rich and everything's great until it's not. And right about now, we're going into that era to where it's not, and things are starting to fall apart. And it's amazing how you see so many people that were attached to hustle culture and, oh man, they got this amount of money and they have this car, this expensive car, and they're paying this amount of rent. And now all of a sudden they can't pay their rent. Now all of a sudden they're getting their cars repoed. Now all of a sudden they living in a fucking hotel. And now they're trying to figure out how do they get out of this bind, and they don't have the tools to get out of the bind. And what I mean by they don't have the tools, because they don't know how to sacrifice, and they don't know how to put their head down and just go to work. They don't. You know, they told you having a good credit score was kind of for suckers. Credit is for suckers. Not understanding that if you want to get into certain places, you know, you have to have a good credit score. You have to earn X amount of income. They were always talking about, and I've seen this, especially if you're a black person, you've probably heard somebody talk about how they can go to a scammer and get a fake profile and this fake paperwork to say that they make this amount. Well, a lot of places now, especially the corporate ones, they don't take paperwork. They've got a portal that they can log in and put your name in. And what some of you don't understand is they can pull up and kind of see a roundabout way how much money you really make, whether you're faking it or not. They don't even take paperwork. So that scammer stuff does not work unless you're using, which some people do. They'll get a fake ID. They'll use a fake picture ID with somebody else's name and credit score and go and move in somewhere under somebody else's name, and they can't afford the rent. I mean, I've just seen it all. And you tell these people like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then, you know, me personally, you know, you just got to walk away like, yeah, whatever. This person's a moron. And you see this in our culture, like it's something that's been growing, but it's now you see it really, the brakes getting slammed on it and it's coming to an abrupt end. And you see a lot of people now, if you're responsible, a lot of people start coming back around and asking you questions, wanting to know how they could possibly fix their credit when you were trying to explain to them, hey, you don't have to take these steps in order to try to get your credit in line. Not none of this quick fix, easy scammer stuff. These are the steps you kind of need to take. And they looked at you like you were crazy. Now they want to know. Now they are interested in those connections that you have where you could have said, hey, I know a few people over here. If you get your resume right and do this, this, and this, I could probably talk to somebody and give you a recommendation, kind of help you get a decent job. They didn't want that. Now, all of a sudden, the things are going downhill and quickly. All the free, fast money has dried up and is gone. They're looking around and they want some help. And you start getting those inquiries you know, can they have a conversation? They want to talk to you about something. And I listen. I will listen. I do. But just understand, after I listen, I give them my opinion, let them know, hey, I offered you this, you didn't want it. And then with that smirk on my face, when they tell you that things are not doing well and they're in dire straits, I look them square in the face and say, I told you so. I don't go out my way to tell somebody I told you so. When things crash around you and you posting it on social media looking crazy, I don't go and say I told you so. But just understand, if you reach out to me, I'm gonna, hey, I told you so. And just understand, after I tell you I told you so, one of the things that I'm not going to do is help you. And for most of these people, not all of them, but for most of these people, you should not help them either. They need to hear I told you so, and you need to let them figure it out on their own. And if they can pull themselves up out of that hole, then fine. If they can't, too bad for you. Not my problem. That's the way I look at it. So that's just me. That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, just remember, every now and then it will feed your soul when you know you're right and some of these people float back around and they start trying to make amends and have and make everything sunshine and rainbows around you. It's okay. I'm just letting you know. People will tell you, hey man, you shouldn't do that. No, it's okay. Sometimes you have to tell people, instead of just telling them, no, I'm not in a position. No, you're in a position to help them, but just, I'm not going to help you, and I told you so. Remember that. It's your man, Rod Strickland. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Till the next video, I'm out.